Okay, very last portion of the last recording, which is episode 3, there there was a little technical difficulties, so I didn't really finish my sentence, I don't think. But I was trying to explain, well, I was explaining how I felt about someone not being able to say they were sorry and how it affected my relationship with my husband. We got past it. Uh, I shocked him by threatening to leave. He knew me well enough to know that I did not make idle threats because he knows that I loved him. He I always say that in the present tense, but he knew how much I loved him. And it was only then that he understood that my feelings were very strong regarding that. I had tried to explain it to him before, but he thought it was silly. And sometimes we're all guilty of dismissing the feelings of people that we love because we can't relate to what they're feeling. And that taught me that for a relationship to be successful, you have to spend quite a bit of time not just wanting your partner to treat you in the way that you treat them or the way that you want to be treated, but you need to consider how they want to be treated. Sometimes we just can't relate to where a person is coming from, and it's not a matter of right or wrong, but some things can really be detrimental to a relationship to one person, and the other person just they're not able to see that. But we have to see beyond what we would normally see, and that shouldn't be hard because we're talking about someone that we love. So as you can see, my marriage was not perfect. That was the only time I ever threatened to leave him. Any other issues that we had, we did work them out. We would sit down and we would talk about it. I think it was a scary learning experience for both of us. Um, it kind of makes me sad to even think about it, to be honest. It happened so long ago, but it is scary to think how different my life would have been had I gone through with that threat. You probably wonder, in hindsight, if in hindsight I think that I overreacted, right or wrong, I do not think I overreacted because they were my true feelings. I am a firm believer that a person should accept what their feelings are, um, and deal with them, whatever, however you deal with them. But they're you can't pretend that they're not there. You can try, but that's just like putting a cheap band-aid on a cut, um, or waiting for something to heal that's not never been given the opportunity to heal. Even in my relationship with God, it took me a minute, but I learned to accept my feelings. I came to understand that He understood, so it was okay. Whether my feelings were fears or joys or just dealing with life, dealing with myself, I realized that once I accept those feelings, it is only then that I can surrender those feelings to Him. There have been times when I couldn't. I wasn't strong enough. The pain may have been too deep, or I couldn't really pull my feelings out of a web of confusion. Sometimes that happens. The devil is very big on throwing confusion at you. But God's love for us is so strong, and so He knows everything. And He knew I was trying. And I personally think He made it easier, but those are just my thoughts. Our relationships with God are custom made for us. And I think that's wonderful. I think our relationships, whether it is with our significant other or our parents or our children, our friends, other family members, they are all uniquely ours. Our experience with a friend is not going to be the same with another friend. I think some people make the mistake of thinking that, how it took people so long to figure out that different friends provide different things for each other. Well, they would have to, because we're different. We are different. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make in life is trying to make the people in our world fit into boxes that we have prepared for them. And I'm not going to let anybody put me in a box that they have. If there's a box, it will be mine. Um, in a personal relationship, I don't think, you want to be in the box together. um, but even then, it would have to be a fit, you know? They would just have to come together. Um, I don't want to make it sound, and I don't think I'm doing that, but I do not want to make it sound that or appear that I think relationships are easy, because they are not. They are. I will say again, they're anything but easy. But they are worth the work that it takes to make a life with that person that you love and who loves you. And I have to say that because I cannot imagine loving Mark the way that I did, and that love was not reciprocated. I can't even imagine that type of pain, that type of hopelessness, because that is what I would have felt. I've seen people go through that. Um, it's painful to watch. And I've seen people become bitter. They refuse to leave a relationship because they feel like they own that person, and they don't want anybody else to even think they own that person. But you know what? No matter how much we love someone, we don't own them. We don't. God gave us free will across the board. We make our choices in our relationship with Him, in doing His will, and we have free will in our relationships. And, unless somebody's holding you hostage. And yeah, I think you can be held in a mental grip. I've seen that happen too. I do have a great deal of empathy for people who cannot fall out of love with someone. because we don't talk about falling out of love. But you do have to do that, you know? If you have to fall in love with someone, why is it so hard for people to understand that when it's done, either from one side or both sides, you have to fall out of love, and it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't. Oh my goodness. Relationships. This is not going to be a long video. I just didn't want the first one to end like that. And I did have a few more things to say. So instead of trying to end it the way I normally do, where it can stand alone, I decided that I would finish it up the way I wanted to. We have to figure out a way to come back together. We have to figure out a way to fight for our people. And it starts, our strength will start from within. We don't have any reason to believe that the outside communities will save us. They will, there are segments who will help us and support us. I think there's always been decent enough people to do the right thing, but they're not the majority. Do I think that the ones who are determined to do the wrong things and to keep us in a place as a people where they feel we deserve to be, do I think they're the majority? I don't. I think there's a frighteningly large number of them, but I think the majority of people are just indifferent. I think the majority of people are just very much content with where they are, and it's not worth them being supportive or not supportive. They're just like, okay, you know what, this is my life, and as long as my life is going fine, I'm good. And to be honest, I understand that. I understand that. Life is not easy. I don't even think it's easy for people who, well, we know it's not. I mean, money doesn't guarantee you anything, but your light's not going to be off, you know? You can buy what you want, but, you know, that's another topic that's not really important to me. But I don't have the answers for these questions. I don't have the answers for my concerns. I just know that it is something that needs to be discussed amongst us. And even if more people realized that sometimes change is one person, one relationship, one conversation at a time, because it takes some people just don't believe that. The world is so geared toward big and groups and big things happening quickly. Well, most of us are not going to be famous. Not going to be rich. Um, and that's fine. That's wonderful. But we will cross paths with people whose lives we can touch. We will meet people and we will have like minds. And maybe together two people can most certainly change the direction of another person's life. It can be very minute as far as what television and magazines and movies tell us that we should be thinking about. But an encouraging word, a nice gesture, a smile. When a person is going through really difficult times, either one of those things could have a profound effect on how they see themselves, their situation, or the world in general. I mean, just think about it. You've been running into crappy people all week. Um, and we'll say a work week. So it's Friday. You are so glad to be leaving your job, and you run into a person that does something nice for you that they did not have to do. It can be you going through the toll, and they are in front of you, and they pay the toll for you. They didn't have to do that. Was it random? Yeah. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because you still benefited from it. And now people are saying pass it along, pass it along. And people have to be reminded to do that. But that's okay. If you're reminded to do it and you do it, then that's fine. Because every time you do something good comes from it. So I'm a little tired now. So I'm going to end this part of this episode. I get a big kick out of saying, I get a big kick out of thinking that my recordings are episodes. And I hope that people are listening to them in order. But I guess it doesn't really matter as long as they enjoy them. Now, who would have thought that at this age, at this time in my life, that I would actually be sitting here sharing my thoughts with whoever happens to listen? But you never know what direction God wants you to go in. And you're probably saying, well, how do you know God wants you to do that? Because it makes me feel good. And I said nothing that wasn't positive. And sometimes that's enough.